Good morning, everybody. Today, I would like to talk about relative clauses. Defining relative clauses, to be exact. First of all, we have to ask the question, what is a defining relative clause? Well, look at this sentence. Point at the girl. That's pretty a simple sentence, right? Right. But what if there are many girls? How do you know which girl I want you to point at? Look at this. Point at the girl who is wearing a blue dress. Suddenly, you know exactly which girl I'm talking about. It's this one, of course. This part of the sentence is called the defining relative clause. Defining relative clauses tell you which person or thing the speaker is talking about. In our case, the speaker is talking about this girl with a blue dress. Defining relative clauses usually begin with a relative pronoun. Who, which, that, or whose. In our sentence, the relative pronoun is who. Please pause the video and write down the headline Defining Relative Clauses in your folder under Grammar. Then write down this rule. Defining relative clauses tell you which person or thing the speaker is talking about. They begin with a relative pronoun. Who, which, that, or whose. An example would be, Jay is a boy who talks a lot. The defining relative clause is who talks a lot. The other part of the sentence, called the main clause. You don't need a comma to separate a defining relative clause from the main clause. The main clause is the frame. It contains the person or thing which is explained in the relative clause. In this case, the person or thing which is explained in the relative clause is boy. Be careful! Not every who, which, that, or whose is a relative pronoun. Who, which, and whose are sometimes question words, and that can be something different as well. For example, look at that tree. There is a that in this sentence, but it's not a defining relative clause. A relative pronoun, that, needs a noun in front of it. There is no noun in front of that. Now look at the tree that your dad planted. Here, that is a relative pronoun. It describes the tree. Look at the tree is the main clause. That my dad planted is the relative clause. You don't have to look at any tree. You have to look at the one that your dad planted. Let's practice this a bit. Wonderful! It looks like you can spot defining relative clauses. Now, let's have a look at the following sentences and decide which noun is defined by which relative pronoun. Jay is a boy who talks a lot. The Globe is a theatre that was popular in Shakespeare's day. J looked at the man whose pipe he had found. The man that J saw was a ghost. The Victorians had many traditions which we still have. And that's the pipe whose owner walked away. First, pause the video, write down these sentences, and then color the relative pronoun and the noun that it belongs to with the same color. I already did one. Jay is a boy who talks a lot. The relative pronoun in this sentence is who, and it belongs to the noun boy, because the sentence who talks a lot helps explain boy. Now it's your turn. Write down the rest of the sentences and color the pronouns and the correct nouns. If this is your solution, you're correct. Congratulations! Now, let's have a look at these combinations. Looks like some of the relative pronouns only belong with people, and some only belong with things, and some can go with both. Pause the video and see if you can spot the rule. Did you spot it? Prove it. Good job! Let's add this rule to the others. Pause the video and complete the rules. By the way, you don't need to copy the blue box. That's just for you to know what's new. The new rule is we use who only for people and which only for things. Whose and that can be used for people and for things. Let's have a look at whose, because it is special. So far we have seen two sentences which use the word whose. J looked at the man whose pipe he had found, and that's the pipe whose owner walked away. Have a look at these sentences and then try to translate them into German. Pause the video here and write down the German sentences. How did you translate whose? If your answer is dessen or deren, that's correct. The first sentence in German is Jay sah zu dem Mann, dessen Pfeife gefunden hatte. The second one is das ist die Pfeife, deren Besitzer davongelaufen ist. Let's practice, all right? Look at page 73, number 11 in your book and write down complete sentences. Connect the first part of the sentence with the correct relative pronoun and then with the rest of the sentence. Pause the video and write down the correct sentences. Have a look at the correct sentences. If this is your solution, perfect. If you made a mistake, pause the video and write down the correct sentence. The man who, or that, had just entered the street looked like a ghost. The woman whose voice they heard was killed. The murder, which, or that, had happened in that street was very bloody. The ghost, who, or that, lost his pipe was the murderer. The people who, or that, heard the story got scared, and the tool which or that tells us about blood and crime is the Victorian tool. Good job! You're doing amazing so far. Take this test and check your relative clause skills. Okay, I can see that you know which relative pronoun to use when. But can you also make your own defining relative clauses? Here you can see sentence pairs. There are always two sentences, and I want you to make one sentence out of them using relative clauses. For example, the Globe is a famous theatre. It was the home of William Shakespeare. Let's change that. Now we have the Globe is a famous theatre which or that was the home of William Shakespeare. Now it's your turn. Pause the video and do the rest of the sentences. Alright, now let's look at these sentences. Those are the correct solutions. Again, pause the video and correct your own results if you need to. Last week, we went there to see a play which or that we had just read in drama class. Inside the theatre, we were looking for the seats which or that we had booked online. After the play, we talked to the actors who or that our teacher had asked for a workshop. And we went there in a bus whose driver waited for us outside. Now it's your turn. Write down 3 sentences with defining relative clauses for each of the relative pronouns. So 3 sentences for who, 3 sentences for which, 3 sentences for that, and 3 sentences for whose. Please upload your result to Moodle until Thursday at 5 p.m. I wish you a wonderful day and I hope to see you soon. Bye!